I was not sure, but I know now. Well now, Susan, it will be worth £10 to you if you will tell me who is at the back of Barney. Someone that could lay down £1,000 for every 10 you have in the world. So, a rich man? No, you smiled. A rich woman. Now we have got so far, you may as well give the name and earn the tenner. I'll see you in hell first. Oh, Susan, language. I'm clearing out of here. I've had enough of you all. I'll send for my box tomorrow. She flounced for the door. Goodbye, Susan. Paregoric is the stuff. Now, he continued, turning suddenly from lively to severe when the door had closed behind the flushed and angry woman, this gang means business. Look how close they play the game. Your letter to me had the 10 p.m. postmark, and yet Susan passes the word to Barney. Barney has time to go to his employer and get instructions, he or she. I inclined to the latter from Susan's grin when she thought I had blundered. Forms a plan. Black Stevie is called in, and I am warned off by 11 o'clock next morning. That's quick work, you know. But what do they want? Yes, that's the question. Who had the house before you? A retired sea captain called Ferguson. Anything remarkable about him? Not that I ever heard of. I was wondering whether he could have buried something. Of course, when people bury treasure nowadays, they do it in the post office bank. But there are always some lunatics about. It would be a dull world without them. At first I thought of some buried valuable. But why in that case should they want your furniture? You don't happen to have a Raphael or a First Folio Shakespeare without knowing it? No, I don't think I have anything rarer than a Crown Derby tea set. That would hardly justify all this mystery. Besides, why should they not openly state what they want? If they covet your tea set, they can surely offer a price for it without buying you out, lock, stock, and barrel. No. As I read, there is something which you do not know that you have, and which you would not give up if you did know. That is how I read it, said I. Dr. Watson agrees, so that settles it. Well, Mr. Holmes, what can it be? Let us see whether, by this purely mental analysis, we can get it to a finer point. You have been in this house a year, nearly 2. All the better. During this long period no one wants anything from you. Now suddenly within 3 or 4 days you have urgent demands. What would you gather from that? It can only mean, said I, that the object, whatever it may be, has only just come into this house. Settled once again, said Holmes. Now, Mrs. Mabley, have any objects just arrived? No, I have bought nothing new this year. Indeed, that is very remarkable. Well, I think we had best let matters develop a little further until we have clear data. Is that lawyer of yours a capable man? Mr. Sutro is most capable. Have you another maid, or was the fair Susan, who had just banged your front door, alone? I have a young girl. Try and get Sutro to spend a night or 2 in the house. You might possibly want protection. Against whom? Who knows? The matter is certainly obscure. If I can't find what they are after, I must approach the matter from the other end, and try to get at the principal. Did this house agent man give any address? Simply his card and occupation. Haynes Johnson, auctioneer and valuer. I don't think we shall find him in the directory. Honest businessmen don't conceal their place of business. Well, you will let me know any fresh development. I have taken up your case, and you may rely upon it that I shall see it through. As we passed through the halls, Holmes's eyes, which missed nothing, lighted upon several trunks and cases which were piled in the corner. The labels shone out upon them. Milano, Lucerno. These are from Italy. They are poor Douglas's things. You have not unpacked them? How long have you had them? They arrived last week. But you said, why surely this might be the missing link. How do we know that there is not something of values in there? There could not possibly be, Mr. Holmes. Poor Douglas had only his pay and a small annuity. What could he have of value? Holmes was lost in thought. Delay no longer, Mrs. Mabley, he said at last. Have these things taken upstairs to your bedroom. Examine them as soon as possible and see what they contain. I will continue tomorrow and hear your report. It was quite evident that the Three Gables was under very close surveillance, for as we came round the high hedge at the end of the lane, there was the negro prize-fighter standing in the shadow. We came on him quite suddenly, and a grim and menacing figure he looked in that lonely place. Holmes clapped his hand to his pocket. Looking for your gun, Massa Holmes? No, for my scent bottle, Steve. You are funny, Massa Holmes, ain't you? It won't be funny for you, Steve, if I get after you. I gave you fair warning this morning. Well, Massa Holmes, I done gone think over what you said, and I don't want no more talk about the affair of Massa Perkins. Suppose I can help you, Massa Holmes, I will. Well then, tell me who is behind you on this job. So help me Lord, Massa Holmes, I told you the truth before, I don't know. My boss Barney gives me orders, and that's all. Well, just bear in mind, Steve, that the lady in the house, and everything under that roof, is under my protection. Don't you forget it. All right, Massa Holmes, I'll remember. I've got him thoroughly frightened from his own skin, Watson, Holmes remarked as we walked on. I think he could double-cross his employer if he knew who he was. It was lucky I had some knowledge of the Spencer John crowd, and that Steve was one of them. Now, Watson, for this case of Langdale Pike, and I am going to see him now. When I get back, I may be clearer in the matter. I saw no more of Holmes during the day, but I could well imagine how he spent it, for Langdale Pike was his human book of reference upon all matters of social scandal. This strange languid creature spent his waking hours in the bow window of a St. James Street club, and was the receiving station, as well as the transmitter, for all the gossip of the metropolis. He made, it was said, a 4-figure income by the paragraph which he contributed every week to the garbage papers which cater for an inquisitive public. If ever, far down in the turbid depths of London life, there was some strange swell or eddy, it was marked with automatic exactness by the human dial upon the surface. Holmes discreetly helped Langdale to knowledge, and on occasion was helped in turn. When I met my friend in his room early next morning, I was conscious from his bearing that all was well, but none the less a most unpleasant surprise was awaiting us. It took the shape of the following telegram. Please come at once. Client's house burgled in the night. Police in possession. Sutro. Holmes whistled. The drama has come to a crisis, and quicker than I had expected. There is a great driving power at the back of this business, Watson, which does not surprise me after what I have heard. This Sutro, of course, is her lawyer. I made a mistake, I fear, in not asking you to spend the night on guard. This fellow has clearly proven a broken reed. Well, there is nothing for it but another journey to Harrow Weald. We found the Three Gables a very different establishment to the orderly household of the previous day. A small group of idlers had assembled at the garden gate, while a couple of constables were examining the window and the geranium beds. Within, we met a grey old gentleman who introduced himself as the lawyer, together with a bustling, rubicund inspector, who greeted Holmes as an old friend. Well, Mr. Holmes, no chance for you in this case, I'm afraid. Just a common, ordinary burglary, and well within the capacity of the poor old police. No experts need apply. I am sure the case is in very good hands, said Holmes. Merely a common burglary, you say? Quite so. We know pretty well who the men are, and where to find them. It is that gang of Barney Stockdale, with the big Negro in it. They've been seen about here. Excellent. What did they get? Well, they don't seem to have got much. Mrs. Mabley was chloroformed, and the house was. Ah! Here is the lady herself. Our friend of yesterday, looking very pale and ill, had entered the room, leaning upon a little maidservant. You gave me good advice, Mr. Holmes, said she, smiling ruefully. Alas, I did not take it. I did not wish to trouble Mr. Sutro, and so I was unprotected. I only heard of it this morning, the lawyer explained. Mr. Holmes advised me to have some friends in the house. I neglected his advice, and I have to pay for it. You look wretchedly ill, said Holmes. Perhaps you are hardly equal to telling me what occurred. It is all here, said the inspector, tapping a bulky notebook.